Happy Thursday. It is Therapy Thursday. It is Therapy Thursday. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Transforming Trauma Podcast with Dr. Triffy. Okay, so I'm going to start today. Make a little, what I hope is a little meditation and a little preparation for our minds to absorb this money talk because everybody and their mama love their money. So I'm going to invite you to take a few deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Yes, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Yeah? Yes, we're going to talk about money tonight. We're going to talk about healing our money trauma so we can make more money. Yes, we can preserve what we have and we can grow our money. I'm Dr. Triffy. You know me. Every Thursday I show up here at about this time to talk about psychology and lots of different topics. My intention is to teach us strategies to help us think better so we can feel better and do better. Now, who does not want to do better with their money? I want you to share the live tonight. Share the live, okay? Come in, tell us where you're listening from, and share the live. Okay, so I like to start off by saying this. I'm from a little island in the Caribbean called Dominica, not to be confused with the Dominican Republic. We love them, yes, but they're a completely different country. They're up north, and they border Haiti, and we are further south. We are between Guadeloupe and Martinique. Tonight, I've invited a special guest from my home country, originally from my home country, but he's also American like me. Yeah, we do it like that. So I want you to come in. I want him to start because we want to use the hour well. Yes, I want to leave you with some powerful strategies, vehicles, techniques, and ways to think about money again so we can grow that money, not just make it, because it's really not just about how much you make. It's about how much you keep. Yeah? So I want to introduce you tonight to the man himself. He calls himself Jean Lapointe. He calls himself Jean Lapointe. And okay, so I said I'm from Dominica. If you're from Dominica, you know that La Pointe is a village called Point Michel. Yeah, in Dominica, we speak English and we also speak a French Creole. So that's where that Jean Lapointe comes from. So my guest tonight, Mr. Havis Bardouille, Mr. Havis Bardouille of Bardouille Financial Services. Mr. Bardouille, welcome. I see it. Welcome to Transforming Trauma with me tonight. How are you?
Doc, I am fantabulous. First of all, I want to thank you for the invite because everybody who follows me on my social media platforms, I talk about you a lot. Everyone, and everything that I'm saying to you publicly, I've said it privately. I am so honored to be with you because sometimes I'm with clients and you pop up your live and I say good night or something, and I'm actually working. They don't know I'm doing it because I might be on the Zoom, I might be live. They think I'm checking some figures. I just have to give a like to your program. So I'm actually honored to be in your program. And like I've said to you in the past, everything, all your content that you put out, I know it's good. Sometimes I don't have to look at it. I know I can give it a thumbs up because it's not controversial. It's not trash. It's not twerking. It's good stuff. So I'm really excited to be on the show tonight. And I must say, I consider you family. I want everyone to know I've never met Dr. Triffy ever.
That's
However,
right.
she's intertwined with my family. My big sister, Julie Danielle, in Cottage, used to be her Sunday school teacher back in the day. And the way that we became friends on social media was Marcia Danielle Barron, her daughter, my cousin, I posted something and you commented, and I
Mm-hmm.
saw you. I had no idea who you were, and I put I sent you a friend request. I talked to a buddy because I saw where you went to school, and you all went to
Yes,
Ole Miss together.
I'm a rebel.
Exactly, and he told me some stories about you. I'm gonna have to blackmail you one of these days, Doc, so I can make some money. But everything has been great. All the reviews about you is awesome, and I can't wait one of these days when when Sandy and I next time we're in Atlanta, we definitely
Hmm.
have to take you to dinner and get to meet you. We can't wait.
That would be lovely. That would be lovely. I can't wait. I really am happy that you're here tonight. I'm looking forward to the conversation. I hope it's a healing conversation for us.
Yes,
I anticipate it's going to be for me. And I
it
hope
will
that
be.
it's going to be for you, the listeners, as well. So, Havis, Mr. Bardouille, Mr.
Yes,
Bardouille,
ma'am.
I want to hear a little bit of your what I call diaspora story. So we're both from the island of Dominica. I would love to hear your story of how did you get here? How did you get here?
How did I come to America? Coming
Yes.
to America. Yes, yes. My story is actually quite simple, and I'm going to enjoy telling it because for those of you also who may be mutual friends with Dr. Triffy and I, sometimes I post stuff on social media and I do talk about my background. I do talk about where I grew up. Now, I want to make it very clear. Monsieur La Pointe. I am from Point Michel. Um, I left before Dominica was independent. If you have to think back, right? And
Okay.
some people think because I've been gone so long, how come I have a Dominican accent? Once I parle patois and say, boy, what you talking about there? Nah, I,
Right.
but the Dominicans sometimes just tick me off because they say my accent have an accent. It's like after flash. That just make me mad. But the thing about it is, Doc, my aunts had been in the US for decades, I think since the 50s. And I
Mm-hmm.
had some aunts in England, I believe as well, and uncles in England as since the 50s. And my dad never wanted to go, I think, or the opportunity never arise for him to come. But what happened was there's 10 of us, a whole bunch of kids. And my aunts eventually filed for my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad came up. He was there for about a year. And then, he filed for us. And some of us came up. The older ones were already married.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones who were not married, we all came up except one, and she came up a year later. And I'll tell you this, coming to America, I can tell you what song was playing on the radio when we were driving back in the day. There was one road to the airport, if I remember. It was through Cassie Bruce, a nice stretch of road, man, back
Mm-hmm.
in the 70s, right? And
Mm-hmm.
a nice paved road. And the song that was playing, Easy Like Sunday Morning, Lionel
Oh
Richie and
wow.
the Commodores. And I
Yes.
actually thought, Doc, that it said, I'm leaving like Sunday morning. So more
Oh.
play away, Mocha, play away, tears
Yes.
coming out my eyes, crying
Yes.
because I told my mother I don't want to go to America. I want to stay in La Pointe. And if you
Yes.
see I've posted that picture, my passport picture. It looked like I have a lot, boogers coming out
Yes.
my nose, right? But
Yes.
I didn't want to take the picture. I think we had to go by Deepex and take a picture. I didn't want
Mm-hmm.
to do that, but
Yes.
as a child, what do you know? And I'm like, we have to go. So we came and we settled into Boston, Massachusetts. That's where my aunts were.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up there. I spent 0 to 12 in Dominica, and then 13 to I'm pushing 60. Man, I'm in a vehicle. I'm an old guy now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, here in the US. And but I will tell you this. Back then, there was no social media. There was no cell
Right.
phone. I think people
Right.
were doing pen pals. And I think I wrote a couple of people back home. And after that, Doc, I got assimilated into the culture. I learned
Mm-hmm.
about, I mean, they said Dominica they were playing basketball in the 70s. I don't remember that. I remember football, cricket, wrong dozen, netball,
Mm-hmm.
volleyball. But I learned hockey in Boston, and all the different American sports, baseball, softball, and you made friends. I assimilated into the culture, and
Yes.
Boston is Dominica will always be home. So on Tuesdays with Terrence, I say Dominica made me. Boston raised me. Now the South sustains me. I've settled now back down in the South, with my lovely Sandy. And, we have a total of 5 kids, And
Mm-hmm.
the great thing is this. My story of my diaspora story is simply this. The only regret that I have is when I became an adult, I was, how would I say it? I want to use the proper word. Dominica was, although I've always been proud, and those people who know me know I'm a proud Dominican, I've always been, but I wasn't connected. I feel so
Mm-hmm.
much
You felt
connected,
disconnected
and there was a
emotionally.
disconnect.
Yes.
And I think, Doc, is because I was so young. I think if I was older in my
Mm.
20s or 30s, and if I had to live my life over again, I would
Yes.
want to come to America as an adult,
Yes.
late 20s or 30s. And you can still make something if you want to. But
Mm-hmm.
back then, because I felt like I was cheated of certain things,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll say this in Creole, Mate Gemini anti femme Dominique.
Ah,
But the
yeah.
point about it is, I'll say this, guys, on a serious note, it was one of those things where I am grateful for everything that America has done for me and my family. But
Mm-hmm.
Dominica will always be my heart, and I'll always
Yes.
be Jean Lapointe. And that's why I have my Jean Lapointe on my hat, and that's why on Tuesdays with Terrence, you see with my hat, I'll say, quand même,
Yes.
parce Monsieur Jean La Dominique, Jean Lapointe. And I left Dominica when I was in first form at grammar school, and
Yes.
matriculated to school up here. And I went to started studying marketing at Northeastern University.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at my high school yearbook, I just celebrated my 40th high school reunion last year in Boston, and it would say computer technician. That's what I wanted to be. I know nothing about
Mm-hmm.
computers. I ended up
Mm-hmm.
in financial services. I've been in financial services since 1985. That's like 37 years, going on 38 years, I think so.
I wanted, yeah, I'm glad you're talking about this because I wanted to know how you ended up in financial services. Like, how did that come about? Because that's you're the money man right now.
I don't know all about all that, but I'm going to tell you something. When I was 17, right, I graduated high
Yeah.
school young, 17. And my first I remember when I was about 13, 14, I had a little job in a little bodega, a little store in the hood, in the neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
Dorchester Enclave, Bowden Street, a little Spanish guy. I was getting paid like $25 a week, I think under the table or something. Because the guy like my mother, because my mother was a very friendly lady. And the rule was no fighting. All right, no
Mm-hmm.
fighting. But his nephew worked there, and young boys, 13, 14, we started fighting one day, wrestling, and all the groceries fell out, and the guy basically fired me. But the point is, I was 17, and there's a young lady, her name is Michelle Gately. I found
Mm-hmm.
her on LinkedIn, and I reached out, and we were really close. She was my best friend at one time. However, I was 17, and she said, man, because back in the day, I was a cashier. And at
Yes.
McDonald's in Boston at 17, if you're a cashier, you know, it was like the glorious job, instead of
Gotcha.
flipping burgers or the fries. So what I used to do was me and the guys, we would, when the girls came in, we would give them an extra apple pie or a sundae so we can get the
Uh-huh.
number because there's no
Uh-huh.
phone numbers, right? And you get,
You wrote your number on the receipt.
exactly, or
Mhm.
they give you your number or something
Yes.
like that. And this lady, Michelle, said to me, and I was really young, I didn't even started going to college yet. And she said, you ever thought about becoming a banker? Because you handle
Mm.
that money really well. And the lady was a
Yes.
banker, right? And I was like, well, ma'am? I was like, me? Nah.
Yes.
And after that, I started, was there for, summers. And then I even, there used to be a shoe store back in there called Baker Shoes. I worked a little bit. I did several things, Doc. I worked at a shoe store and a couple other things I can't remember. But I started a Brookline Savings Bank as a teller,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
I went to Merchants Bank, which was became Bank of Boston, Bank of America, which is now Bank of America, and
Mhm.
I did training of tellers, doing HR and doing retirement planning, and
Mhm.
teaching monetary policies at the Federal Reserve, taking them on field trips. I had a good time, so that's how I actually ended up in financial services. It was by
Mhm.
default, trying
Yes.
to give phone numbers to girls at McDonald's. And this lady told me I'm really good counting the money. And you ever thought about going into financial services? And that's how I
Yeah.
ended up in banking. And I was a banker for a while,
Yeah.
in the 90s. And then I transitioned into education for a little bit. I worked at MIT at a
Mm-hmm.
program called MIT Educational Talent Search.
Mm-hmm.
Talent Search is kind of similar to the TRIO programs that the Department of Education had for Upward Bound, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Talent Search, and that young man who died, that black astronaut who died back in the 80s. Remember back in the 80s when the shuttle crashed? I
Yes, yes,
can't
yes,
think of his name right now, but
yes.
the Department of Education had a program to get first generation kids into post secondary educational uh,
Mm-hmm.
experiences. So it didn't matter if it was MIT, Harvard, or state school. It doesn't matter Ole Miss or anywhere.
Right.
If you were the first in your family, you get into that program so you can get into post-secondary education, which
Mm.
was paramount in the inner city for minorities, whether you were
Right.
at the time Asians, Hispanic, African Americans, but it was for everybody. Because there
Yes.
was all kind of kids in there. There were Asian kids, white kids. Some kids end up going to great schools like MIT, Harvard. I think it's Carnegie Mellon University,
Mm-hmm.
and state schools. And people they went on college tours all the way to Atlanta, where you are,
Right.
to Spelman and Morehouse, and Winston Salem at Winston Salem State, Virginia State,
So
Howard.
many schools across the country. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and
Mm-hmm.
after that, man, I went back into financial services. I'm working for Wells Fargo, which at the time was First Union, on the mutual funds arm,
Yeah.
doing mutual funds. So
Mm-hmm.
at the time, I had my securities license,
Mm-hmm.
mutual funds, Series 663 and all that. And I was a financial advisor. I
Mm-hmm.
wholesaled annuities for big companies like Sun Life of Canada,
Mm-hmm.
Genworth Financial, Vantage Securities. But
Mm-hmm.
how I became an entrepreneur was I started working for a company called Bankers Life out of Chicago years ago, and I loved it. And I was there for about 10 years. And then I transitioned, as you can see in the corner, the American Classic Agency. They
Yes.
recruited, not recruited me. I had an interview with them back in '06, and I didn't do it. And
Mm-hmm.
but 10 years later, 2016, I joined them. And the reason why I love American Classic Agency, I have to say this, and this is one of the questions you're going to ask me, and I will tell you what it is about who's inspired me, but it's female and African American owned. And that is powerful and it's very important to me. I love seeing people look like me in leadership positions. And as an
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur, I want everyone to know that you can do it as well. So
Absolutely.
that's how I ended up in financial services, and I love it. And I couldn't work for anybody because gel more my mouth. I couldn't. I would get in trouble. But I worked in corporate America. I did.
Mm-hmm. So this sounds like a long, long history of working in financial services.
Yes.
Yes. And so this podcast is about transforming trauma, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Money, all of us love money, but I mean, I'm thinking of myself as a kid. You might want to go into your parents' purse and grab a quarter. Yeah. A lot of us got a lot of uh retribution for that, you know, or you might have grown up with family members who went through some very painful money related experiences. I was thinking as we were preparing for this conversation, if you could share a story maybe of maybe one of the most painful money related stories you've come across in your career. And I have a sense you must have come across several.
Well, depuis mon siège à La Pointe, since I'm a
Yes,
Dominican from Point Michel, I have to give you the
yes,
story before I came to America. I
yes.
won't call the girl's name, but was my next door neighbor. And my mother had a purse and she had coins in it. And I don't
Yes.
remember what the coins look like now in Dominique. Well, back in the day, a dollar, 50 cents was a big, big
A
piece of money,
big, big.
big money. Yeah. But anyways, I don't know if I took some $1 or something in my mother's pocket purse, and we
Yes.
went down the street by I can't remember the lady name. And some Jean Laporte probably watching. They'll probably tell me the lady name right up
Yeah.
the street, Gandhi there, and we go and I go and buy sweetie with that little girl, and I so sought a 10 cents was smaller than a 5 cents, if you remember.
Yes. In
And,
size.
and a penny, a 1 cent was smaller than I think the 5 cents
Five
or a
cents.
quarter.
Yes.
So what I said, I I I, I said, well, I had a lot about 10 cents. I gave her all this small money and I take all the big money change. But the point I'm trying to make here is that was my first, I should say, money lesson where I got a volley
Mm-hmm.
going into the pocketbook and taking some coins, with a girl to buy. I was probably under 10 or around 10, around that
Mm-hmm.
age, to buy sweetie candy. And the story behind that is what I learned about that is, you know, my dad was a carpenter by trade. He was also a gardener. And, he helped build the new market, I believe, um, which is now the old market. I don't know. But the thing about it is, um, our parents were not rich. They
Right.
worked hard. As if you
Right.
remember, people got paid every fortnight, every two
Yes.
weeks,
Every
and
2 weeks.
you bought stuff in the store on Quady credit,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
it was a credit card. They had,
They kept a log. They kept a
right, it
credit
was a
log.
law, but it was
Yes.
an honor system, Doc,
Yes.
and
Yes.
people paid their bills.
Yes.
My parents did that, so they would send you to the store and say, um, buy 2 pounds of flour, a pound of sugar, a piece of
Mm-hmm.
lamoui, and some oil, some l'huile, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and my mother said, put a sweetie too. There was no
Yeah.
sweets.
Right.
But the thing about it is they paid. And I know that my parents, my dad, he was the kind of man who gave his pay to my mother.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in that philosophy, but it's like my oldest brother does it up to today. But the point was, um, they paid, and the honor system of that credit worked. People can't lend you nothing or credit you nothing in the store. You'll never get it back nowadays because you have credit cards and
Right.
stuff, right? But my father was a saver. And when I became an adult, I wasn't a saver. I was
Mm-hmm.
promiscuous in spending. I was an impulsive shopper, an impulsive
Can you say
spender.
that again? You said you were promiscuous in spending.
And I use that word intentionally to make a point. I want
Mm-hmm.
your audience to see that you can be promiscuous. Being promiscuous is not just sexuality. It could be
Mm,
a lot of different disciplines.
that's
So
powerful.
basically, I would buy whatever I want, whenever I want.
Mm,
I remember when I went to Bank of America, um, my job, was I worked in customer service at the time in banks, retail banker. People would come in, and you have to approve checks for people. But I remember when ATMs first came out. I even said this. No one will believe this, and I've said this. In Boston, there's subway systems like New York City and DC and Philly. All
mm-hmm.
right, I think Atlanta has it as well.
Mm-hmm.
However, when ATMs and imaging came out. I remember I was a banker then, and I said, "Man, they should open ATMs in subway stations." I was a visionary, and I had no idea what I was saying because I didn't have the education or the background to substantiate what I was saying. Because I remember
Uh-huh.
when ATMs was only in the banks, then they started
Yeah,
being remote, and now your toothbrush, they're
they're
everywhere, right?
everywhere. They're everywhere now.
And the thing about it was, I remember that I kept saying people should do that, but my dad was a saver, and you had a book where you just like back home in the credit, your book, and you bring your book and you put money in, and he was very, very disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you a quick story, another promiscuous story of spending. When I was about 19, my dad bought me a car.
Mm-hmm.
1984, I was turning 20 that year, I think, and it was a 1979 Ford Granada, a red one. And I remember there was this girl I was checking. I still remember her name, Diane La Camera. Her dad used to be a cameraman for ABC News and in Boston at the time. And this is what I found out, Doc. This is very telling. When my father got me, it was a mobile credit card.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I see the term mobile, I thought it was for gas. One day I went to get gas, and the guy said to me, "Is that all you want?" Remember, I was 19, turning 20, right? I
Right.
wasn't earning much yet.
And
I'm
so
a little,
now you realized you could get more
but doc,
out.
this is what I used
Yes,
to do. I used to take my boys and buy candy bar. So my father would
yes.
say, "We get the bill." Although gas was like 80, I was cheap back then. I remember 89 cents or whatever. He said, but you bought like uh $2.56 worth of gas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I you buy candy bar and chips and all kind of foolishness. And
Right.
after a while, when my dad realized what I was doing, he canceled it.
Yes.
I wasn't responsible. You see,
Yeah.
responsibility, there's actions for responsibility. He bestowed and gave me the responsibility of a credit card. And I
Mm-hmm.
was misusing it, mismanaging it for foolishness, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily for gas to get to work, but to buy stuff for my friends. And we don't understand. And you don't have to have a credit card. You can do it with money as well. What happens is that we spend frivolously, impulsively,
We
and
spend
we don't
emotionally. We spend emotionally.
emotionally. Some
Yes.
people go shopping if they're mad at you or if you
Yeah.
hurt their feelings. Well, it's therapy.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Well, how does one heal themselves of that? How did you heal yourself of that financial promiscuity?
Doc, you shouldn't have asked me that question because
I want to because I let me see if I have to make a guess, there are about 65% of us perhaps listening who perhaps have that kind of relationship with money.
well, Doc, at that time I realized that I was young, going to
Mm-hmm.
school at the time as well. And I got like a Macy's, which is like a my credit card, a Filene's, the different department store credit cards. And I even got an American Express
Mm-hmm.
credit card.
And you got this on your own,
I own. I had an
right?
American Express credit card. I was 19. And guess what? At 20, I started dating a girl going to MIT. And for her birthday, I went to buy her, I still remember what it was, Obsession for Women. And I even like that smell. As that Obsession for Men, but the Obsession for Women was a great smell. I love that perfume. I used to wear it as well. Cologne, perfume, whatever. And I bought her I can't remember if it was a Coach credit pocketbook or some
Something expensive.
book. And
Yes.
I would
Yes.
spend, but American Express is not a credit card. It's a
Yes.
charge card.
Mm-hmm.
Difference. Credit cards, you have a minimum payment to pay. And at the time
Mm-hmm.
back then, if I remember correctly, it was you have to pay the full amount because it's a charge
Yes.
card, a credit card.
Yes.
And man, and I got in trouble. I was very impulsive. I would go to store, I would buy, whatever it is I wanted to buy. When we went out, I'd always be acting like I was a ball or shot caller, which I wasn't because you're
Mm-hmm.
charging it.
Mm-hmm.
Then I realized that I was getting into trouble, because a few years later I got married and had kids and stuff. And then I realized, you know, I wasn't
It became too painful to
painful.
continue those
And I
habits.
couldn't tell anybody because
Yeah.
not that I couldn't tell anybody. I didn't know Dr. Triffy because I'd be calling you because all that free advice I get on Facebook, shoot, I'd be calling you, right? You,
Mm-hmm.
know, you were still in cottage. But the thing
Yes.
about it is, Doc, after that, and I bought about the credit cards and different things, and bought a car and different things, and I realized that I was getting a deeper hole because I was not managing money right. And I want to
Yeah.
tell you something: money management, financial literacy is not taught in schools. I don't think you should start in high
Sadly.
school. I think you should start in after you learn your ABC or 1, 2, 3s. You should learn.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if you get $1, you have to save 10 cents of it for
Yes.
Christmas.
Yes.
Teach them, and all little schools should have little credit unions. I believe.
Yes.
I think in Dominica they have that at convent and some of the schools. I believe they may have that,
Mm-hmm.
but financial literacy is not taught. You can have a finance degree and still don't handle money right.
Right.
The literacy is not taught in schools. And what, because in America, when you turn 18 and you go to college, you get a credit card.
Yes.
Excuse me. What do people
Without
do?
the emotional preparation or without the skills, the technical skills. To
Exactly.
manage it. Yes. And so we
And
keep repeating these cycles of pain,
cycles.
of pain.
And it's painful for people because
Yeah.
there's no way you should be graduating college with all this debt, probably student loans. You should be having
From
credit
credit
cards
cards
and all
when
this.
you have so many student loans already.
Right,
Well,
because
what do
you
you recommend? What do you suggest for
well,
what do you suggest as far as how do we heal that or fix that? How can someone who is experiencing that right now, because many people are, what do you do to get out of that rut, to get out of
right
that hole?
right now, American Classic Agency, the billion
Yes,
dollar company, the company that cares, we have a program that's called Getting Out of Debt. In
getting
nine
out of debt.
in 9 years or less,
Hmm.
including your mortgage, student loans, credit cards, equity
Hmm.
line of credits, car loans, any kind of debt that you have, without spending any additional money that you're currently spending right now. We teach
So
you
how
that
do you do that? How do
limit.
you?
So what we do is what we would do, we would find out all the debt that you have, your mortgage,
Hmm.
everything, right? And we
Hmm.
would show you, obviously, there's a proprietary presentation we would show you and how to understand how money works.
Right.
Because the average American makes about $2 million. The average, okay?
Hmm.
Because the average salary is not in the United States, not even 50,000, it's less than that. But the average American makes about $2 million in their lifetime working. But
Okay.
at retirement, they only have $60,000.
Yes.
So basically, what it's telling you is that you didn't plan right. You didn't, and it doesn't matter how much you make. More money, more problems. The
Right.
problem is that you have to understand how to use every dollar twice, and you don't
Mm.
do that because you're losing opportunity costs. What that means is that if you have some money and you earn some money, and you go spend it, buy
Hmm.
that Louis Vuitton pocketbook I was talking about, or that Coach
Right.
pocketbook. Well, there's no return on your investment when you spend it. You might say, well, I can sell it down the road, or a car
Okay.
depreciating asset. But
Okay.
if you had invested or invest some of it, there'll be a return on your investment. And that
Okay.
is opportunity cost because you're losing opportunity because you're just spending and you're not saving. I don't
Right.
care if you're Dominica, if you're the United States, Canada, uh, uh, the UK,
Hmm.
have to save. Even for those of you who go to church and you're
Hmm.
tithing,
Hmm.
well, yeah, you have to return, and I believe in tithing, you have to return it, but you also have to pay yourself. And that's the problem, Doc. People don't
Hmm.
pay themselves.
Hmm.
And only your current self can take care of your future self. That's what
Right.
Douglas Eze, our chief marketing officer, we call him the cash value king, says. Because what you're doing, you're cheating yourself because you're not taking care of your future self. Because your future self can't take care of your future self because it hasn't happened yet.
Hasn't
Only
happened
your
yet.
current self can take care of your future self. So you have to save and invest in different ways. But how do you do that? Well, that's why you talk to a financial professional like myself. We
Right.
have a virtual consultation, or I'll come to you wherever you
Hmm.
are and we'll talk. And other places, it doesn't matter where you are, the concepts are universal. When
Okay.
you,
I want you to explain that there's a concept you mentioned about using a dollar twice.
I'll give you an example.
Yes.
Remember, there used to be a song in the 90s. You're not with OPP? Yeah, you know me.
Right. Right.
There's
Right.
OPM. You're not with OPM? Yeah,
Other people's money.
OPM means other people's money.
Right.
You all may hate Trump and hate all some of these people for whatever, but they never use their money. They use OPM, other people's money.
Gotcha. Hmm.
And my point I'm trying to make here, Doc, it's simply this. There's a concept that you can use that's called infinite banking,
Hmm.
where you can use OPM, other people's money. In other words, let's say you've been saving in
Hmm.
that concept for a while. All right. I don't
Hmm.
care if 10 years, 15 years, some of you 30 years working hard, right? And you all
Hmm.
have bank accounts. Some of you watching have hundreds of thousands of dollars in your bank accounts. Some of you may have nothing. But the point is this: when you go to your bank and you take money out, I'll give you a prime example, Doc. I'm going to use you as a guinea pig. You have $150,000 in your savings account.
Hmm.
I'd be mad at you if you did that, having
Hmm.
$150,000 savings account. I'd be like, are you
Just
mad?
sitting. Just
But look,
sitting in
but we're
right.
just sitting there doing nothing, right? So you
Hmm.
want to buy a car, you want to buy a nice Benz or a nice whatever it is you want to buy that you like. And the car costs, not the top of the line, but it's 50 grand.
Mhm.
So you go into your bank account and you take out $50,000. Now the banks are not paying you anything right now. We know that. But
Mhm.
whatever they were paying you, you had 150,000. You took out 50,000, right? That
Mhm.
means you're only earning interest on basic, right? I mean,
Right?
I'm a guy, but I'm not a math guy, right?
Mhm.
But what if there was a way that you could have earned, buy that car for 50,000 and still earn interest on 150,000 because you're using OPM, other people's money?
I
That
see.
is the concept I teach people, and I shouldn't, because
Mhm.
I the reason I I couldn't do it on the show for you, Doc, is because I would
Mhm.
have to do a presentation and show you, because all the things that I will talk about is going to be over some people's heads. So I have to break it down piece
Mhm.
by piece for you. But I'm saying to you, it's possible, especially, and if you're in America, I'm talking about for people in America, but you can
Mhm.
use the same concept back home, because back in the day, what they used to do was, my parents, I think they had credit unions. They had the last outlet credit union in Point Michel. I don't know what it's called
Mhm.
now, because credit union, whatever it's called. If you had $5,000 in the bank, you take a passbook, right? You know what that was? The $5,000 that you hold as collateral, the $1,000, right? You're earning interest on your 5,000, but you still have to pay your payment every month on that
Mhm.
loan plus the interest. But the concepts here in America, it's a little different, because what we would use is that you would use your health as equity. For example, in your home, Doc, if you own a home, you, every time you make your mortgage payment, the first few years you just pay interest, but after a while you build equity in your home. Is that
Right?
correct? So when you build
Correct.
the equity, down the road you can get an equity line of credit,
Right?
to
Right?
for home improvement, for vacation, whatever you want to do. But I don't recommend those, because guess what? What if your credit sucked? I use the
Mhm.
word suck intentionally to make a point. What if it was terrible? What if it was two?
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as two, where you can't
Right.
get it. And to get it, you need permission from the bank. They want to know how much you earn. They want to do
Mhm.
a check your credit, do check this, check that, and then you may not even qualify. However, with the concept that I'm talking about, there's no credit checks. You can get the money as long as you have access to it, and you build it up
Mhm.
and use it for whatever you want to do. And let me tell you this, Doc, the example I gave you about the car, what you would
Mhm.
have done was, let's say the car company would tell you your payment would have been $450 a month, or $300 or $500. You would have taken the money out of your infinite banking concept, remember, and you still have 150 because you use OPM, not your money.
Right.
And
Okay,
then
I'm
you
gonna
earn,
write that down. I'm gonna write infinite banking. Y'all hearing this?
yes. And
Infinite
basically,
banking.
and what you do, Doc, is that you use OPM, other
Right?
people's money, and with the equity line of credit, Doc, this is going to blow your mind. Don't make the payments for a few months. See what will happen. It'll ruin your credit. Don't make your mortgage payments for a few months. You'll go foreclosure. Don't make your car payments for a few months. The repo man will be looking for you.
Right.
But with this concept, you can pay it back unstructuredly, which basically means the last 3 years we were in a pandemic. Ou pas les payer, ou pas ni pièce l'argent. You don't want to pay. You don't have any money. You don't. And down the road, when you get back on your feet, you pay it back. But in any loans that you take,
Mhm.
a credit card, a mortgage, a car loan, your concept should always be, and for those of you who borrow some money from people, you have to pay it back. And we all do. I have
Mhm.
to do it as well. You know, you have
Right.
to pay it back. So you pay it back, but it would be nice if you can pay it back unstructuredly, on your
Mhm.
terms, not structuredly. And while you're doing that, you're still building generational wealth. All right.
Mhm.
Are you still building generational wealth that you can access down the road? I have a client in Texas, and I wish if I had three clients like that client, those clients that I have, I just need three clients like that a month.
Mhm.
And I would be too much of a big shot to be on your show, Doc. But I would still do it because you're my girl. I would do it. And I'm saying to you, those people get that concept, and
And they
one of
use it well. And they've
they
learned how to use
using
it
it.
well.
They're using it for student loan elimination,
Mhm.
mortgage. By the time their kids are ready for college, they'll be out of debt of a mortgage, and they'll have
Mhm.
a lot of cash value, and they can access it tax favored, which basically means if you structure it properly, you don't pay any taxes on it. It's kind of like
Havis,
having a Roth IRA on steroids.
as you're talking about this here, even me, like I feel a part of me, maybe it's the 19-year-old, like the child part of me that's like, oh my God, all these big words, these big ideas, this is too much for me. This money talk, how will I ever figure this out? Infinite banking, what's an easy way? What would you suggest? Because I do think because we miss out on education and emotional preparation for
And the
money.
literacy.
Yes, we can have those kinds of responses. And I think that's ways one of the blocks between us and growing wealth and becoming wealthier and using our money better. What how can people connect with you? I want to say that first because it does seem as if education is a big piece. It seems as if changing the relationship we have with money, trying to look at it from a different perspective, like you said earlier, a more responsible. I'm not 19 anymore.
That's right.
You have to, at a certain point, grow up and realize I can't do it like I was doing it when I was at Ole Miss. Yeah, I have to do it as a 50-something-year-old right now. So, I want you to share your information. You mentioned another resource from American Classic about getting out of debt.
Now, check this out, Doc. First of all, I want to say this. I'm enjoying this conversation because that's my passion. Some
Mm,
people want to talk politics or they want to talk sports. I'm a big sports fan. Religion.
mhm.
I'm a Monsieur Sobruk, Sukonet Sadeja. I'm a
Right.
seven. But the thing about it is this: this thing mentally stimulates me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the key here is we have a lot of mutual friends on social media.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lady that I friended a couple years ago on Facebook, or we friended each other. I don't remember how we came across. She's never met me. She's in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And she sent me a text in my DM one time. Those are the kind of DMs you're looking for.
She's slid
Watch,
into your DMs.
man, if everybody's
Yes.
into my DMs like that with all the caution I just get in my DMs.
Mm-hmm.
I said, she said this, and I'll give you the information in a second. She said, I've been watching you.
Mm-hmm.
You're consistent.
Mm-hmm.
You're resilient, and you never give up, and you're always giving information.
Mm-hmm.
I give nuggets. I can't give everything that I
Right.
put out because I have to
Right.
get personal with people, and I have to protect. I
Right.
have this sheer responsibility to protect you and your stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
she said, I want to meet with you. We met virtually,
Mm-hmm.
and we dumped in a couple hundred grand into that
Mm-hmm.
infinite banking concept. And
Mm-hmm.
this individual right now has used OPM
Mm-hmm.
to do some stuff because now they're doing kind of like I think they're doing flipping homes or stuff like that, real estate investing. And guess what? But their money is still earning uninterrupted compounding interest because when you
Right.
took that $1,000 to go buy that Mercedes Benz, you
Yeah.
interrupt compounding. And Albert
Absolutely.
Einstein said that eighth wonder of the world is compounding interest because the banks they charge you compounding interest on your loans, but they give you
Mm-hmm.
simple interest. So somebody, and let me tell you something, Doc, you don't have to tell me, but let's say you bank with Bank of America or you
Mm-hmm.
bank with um, JP Morgan Chase, those banks have billions of dollars into that concept. They will
Right.
never tell you, the bank will never tell you, the government will never tell you, the media will never tell you, because wealthy people don't tell you what they do. And they use that concept to compensate executives and key employees tax free. So
Mm-hmm.
what you know what? Well, look, boy, Jean Lapointe telling me that it's not important, man. I have to hear it from JP Morgan Chase. Let me
Mm-hmm.
tell you, they ain't going to tell you that. As a matter of fact, they don't have to disclose it. But when that client in Texas, who's in the financial services industry, saw the balance sheets of those companies, they're like, Havis, I never heard of that before.
Yes.
And this client wanted to do more. But I said, let's start there. My point I'm trying to make is simply this. Doc, I crack a lot of jokes on social media and I say a
Mm-hmm.
whole bunch of foolishness. People say, oh, they're going to tell the pastor to disfellowship me. All kind of foolishness. When I say foolishness, it's all in fun and it's not done to curse. My point I'm trying to make here is I am a licensed financial professional with
And so you have to protect your license.
decades of experience. And
Mm-hmm.
I tell people I only do three things: income protection, debt elimination, and legacy creation. Those of you who know me, you can find me on Facebook. Send me a friend request. You know, I usually put my phone number. I didn't put it there. You want to call me? I'm on WhatsApp.
Mm-hmm.
But the concepts that I do is for Americans only.
Yes.
You can use similar concepts wherever you are. If you're in America and you want to talk to me, 864-607-1361. And at the end of the show, I'll say it again. I said it
Yes.
fast because it's not important. Send me a friend request or
You
go
heard that?
DMs and say, Havis, I see you on Dr. Triffy's show. And you know
So
what?
they can send you a Facebook request.
Yes.
Yes, they can connect with you on WhatsApp. At the end of the hour, we will type your number if you're okay with that.
That's fine.
Yes, and they can connect with you.
YouTube, IG,
YouTube.
Twitter, tout sortes de bagay. Everywhere they can contact with me.
Yes, yes, yes. You know how they say that.
Doc, just before you go, I have a
Yes.
client. I always talk about it in New York City. In New York State. She's a medical doctor. She saw me on a financial show just like this on YouTube in Pennsylvania 3 years ago when the pandemic started, 2020. She hit me up. She said, I saw you on the show and I want to learn more. Just like that lady in Atlanta.
Yes.
The doctor is making a high income. But we were able to help her virtually as well. I've never met her. And anytime I have to go up to New York to visit a buddy, I'm going to meet her because it's close to where she lives. And what I'm saying to you is simply this. There's people who've known me all my life. And they want to ask me all kind of foolish questions about my credibility. And you know my mother, my father, you know my brother, sister, you know how to find me. And there's people who don't know me. But they see, you see, Doc, I know nothing about psychology, but when I friended you, and I looked at where you went to school, and I asked some people, and they said she was always in the book, so I know you were a good student, right? And I told you about that before, remember? But I know, and I even wanted to recommend someone to you, but because you know me, I didn't do it.
Right.
And then you had your travel therapy, and you were not taking clients. But the point I'm trying to make here, Doc, is this. I have the knowledge.
Absolutely.
It's free. I can share it with you, but you have to give me a consultation. I posted something today, but our president said in the meeting, people make time for what's important to them. You want to know? Let's have a virtual consultation. Or I will come to you wherever you are and we'll get it done. And even if you're in Dominica or different places, I can give you some basic concepts you can use. And I'll give a plug to someone, Finance Focus, Miss Luana Luant. She runs Finance Focus. She's the CEO and founder of Finance Focus. In Dominica, each and every one of you and in the Caribbean and around the world should be following her pages on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Toutes sortes de places.
She's a resource in Dominica that you can access.
Yes. And I highly recommend that. Her and I was a guest together on Dr. Simone's D.A. Rose's show on Q95 one time. And I love that woman because she is there putting the information out. And for a lot of you in Dominica that's talking about how you're going to do it, she's the resource. In America, I'm the guy.
Yes. Y'all heard that? Okay, so Verna, you heard that? And Delphina and Petra and Moki, my cousin Moki, is on there. Mok and friends.
Delphina.
Oh, here's another Jalapuete. Okay, so Havis, you just mentioned travel therapy. Last year, I spent a lot of time doing travel therapy to recover from grief.
Yes, ma'am.
What advice could you give a grieving widow? Your partner died, right? There are lots of considerations that you realize that many of us are not necessarily always thinking about all the way through, you know. um Over the year, I learned a story of a a woman who, her she got divorced.
Hmm.
They got divorced, and there was a shared policy of some sort,
Hmm.
and they forgot to even handle that. And some one of the one person of the couple ended up losing access even to that money. So there are lots of considerations for people when you're divorcing, when your mate has died. What advice would you give somebody, especially women? I have a lot of women who listen to me, um, who your mate has died or is sick. You're looking at a transitioning mate. What are some suggestions you might give somebody in that position?
That's a great question, Doc. First of all, I want to say this: we had our president last year went up with one of our $1 million roundtable producers up to
Hmm.
Pennsylvania that had a man May last year. He got a policy like you just talked about for $1 million, and he
Hmm.
died in September. Now, the woman, when he died, you know, they had a daughter who was going to go to medical school.
Hmm.
He was the primary breadwinner.
Right.
But he had a legacy put in place of $1 million, and they went up there to deliver that $1 million check, and that lady cried. The point I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to make is this, Doc. Most of my followers on social media as well are women. Most of yours as well. Most of my clients are women because men
Hmm.
sometimes they think they know everything, and they're too macho, and they don't want to say that they don't know what they don't know. You're like a man when he's lost before GPSs. They would never say they lost. I was one. I'll tell you this, Doc. I'll tell you this. This is what women can do. If you are single, you should be talking to someone like me to protect you. If
Hmm.
you get engaged, you should be talking to someone like me to help protect both of you. When you
Hmm.
get married, you better make sure that you have coverage on both of you. All right?
Yes.
Make
Yes.
sure. And I don't care if you have to pay for it yourself.
Hmm.
Don't think it's the man's responsibility. I believe it should be, but both of you're a partnership because nowadays most women work as well.
Right.
What I'm saying here is this, and a lot of women don't like talking about finances because
Right.
it's daunting and sometimes they're ignorant. And I have a lot of colleagues. Most of my 45% of my colleagues at my agency are women, and they're killing it because I'll be honest, if I was a woman, I want to talk to a woman. But I try to bring my inner woman when I talk to women to make them feel
Yes.
comfortable, you know, and I don't make anyone feel like they don't know anything. I mean, I
Right.
talk loud, but my bark is much bigger than my bite because I want to teach you. But the key to your question is simply this: financial planning has nothing to do with sexism. It has
Hmm.
to do with knowing who should I talk to. Well, if you're my Facebook friend, you liking all my stuff that I'm talking about, and I can help you. You don't want to contact me? Contact
Hmm.
me. And if you're
Hmm.
not comfortable with me, I'll pass you to one of my colleagues.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And I'll help you because what I'm seeing is a lot of people come to me or they slip in my DMs and they tell me stuff and they even schedule appointments and it's like they ghost you. So basically, and I understand that. I know life happens, but
Hmm.
avoiding your financial planning with someone who can show you what you need to do is not a wise idea because just like you got to go get your mammograms every year, you
Right.
got to go get your pap smears and I got to do my annual and get my prostate check and all this stuff.
PSA
It's the
levels
same.
check.
You have to have financial checks and
Hmm.
do it with someone that you trust and someone that has your best interest at heart. And if you
Yes.
feel more comfortable with a woman, go with a woman.
That's
I don't.
great advice.
There's a lot of women. Back in the day, my industry was predominantly male, and it was white.
Hmm.
But now you
Yes.
have all kinds. and we're here to assist you. But don't let your lack of knowledge prevent you from talking to somebody. Be wise. It's like if you like somebody in a relationship, right? At the beginning, you want to be protected. But as you get to know them, you release more and become a little more trustworthy. It's the same thing. And when we're talking at the beginning, I don't want to know your bank accounts because we're not moving anything. We just talk. But if we're going to do some transactions for you, we need to get some information. And as you build, go back in my library of videos of Tuesdays with Terrence. Go back on my post. Don't just, I will get 500 likes on a stupid post like I made about a t-shirt today. But when I talk about, opportunity costs, you get like 10 likes. Because people just get, but I don't even hustle anybody. I'm not in your DMs. Doc, I've never been in your DM telling you you should talk to me as a financial person.
No, never. Never.
Is foolishness, cautioning, and also our parts. But that's who I am. I am here as a resource. And some of you need someone, because if you want to be my Facebook friend, or if you have Facebook friends, some of you tell me personal things and I pray for you. What's more personal than your finances?
And your finances. I think that's important, what you're saying, because speaking as a woman, anxiety is often connected to our financial life.
Yes, ma'am.
I think, for women. And I think what you're saying is very important. I also want to hear your thoughts, or I want to know if you can offer some free advice, encouragement for a young entrepreneur out there, for a young person starting off their business out there, because it's another very anxiety provoking venture to start off on your own. So what advice would you give to somebody who is starting off their business?
The first advice I would give is start today. Start today.
Start now.
Because, tomorrow's not promised. Nobody's going to be here tomorrow. And yesterday's gone. All right? I'm not sounding like a preacher now. But listen to this. Whatever your passion is here, frying chicken. I'm a vegan. It doesn't matter. But Sandy loves chicken. She'll come to your chicken place. Listen to me. You do breaks. You do, I don't know, Uber, Lyft, whatever it may be that you're doing. The first thing you have to do is you have to protect your income.
Yes.
Income protection is key. And the way that you do that is making sure that, God forbid, if you have a critical illness, a critical injury, a chronic illness, a chronic injury, or terminal illness, there's funds to sustain you. If you're married, you could be a young married person, to your spouse or to your kids, whomever. You have to do that because you have to pay yourself. Because remember, as an entrepreneur, you have no 401k.
Right.
Yeah. So start creating a pension for yourself that you can access tax favored, which means tax free if you structure it properly. And if you have a business partner, you need to have a buy-sell agreement. A buy-sell agreement is key man insurance, where, for example, Dr. Triffy, we're going to go into business 50-50. We're going to take $1 million policy on you, where I am the beneficiary, and $1 million policy on me, where you are the beneficiary. And the company can even pay for the premiums if they want to.
Right.
And I'm not a tax advisor. I'm not going to give tax advice.
Right.
Because you talk to your CPA about if you can write that off. But what I'm saying to you is this. I pass, because men usually pass before women. And Sandy's a beautiful lady, but you don't want to do business with Sandy.
Yes.
You have enough money to buy her off.
Right.
So young people need to first protect their income. If they have debt, they need to eliminate it, not consolidate it, eliminate it. And then as you start building, you got to think about the legacy. Because when you're young, you can start putting smaller amounts in. There's something called dollar cost averaging, DCA. You put the same amount every month. And over time, it'll grow. I'm not going to give you advice on stocks and bonds and mutual funds. I don't do that anymore. I'm the safe money guy. My clients, I tell them zero is the hero, where they'll never lose a penny. That's what I do today. Zero. I used to do that back in the day. I don't believe that you should lose a penny, whether you're
Mm,
32 or 62. So therefore, when you protect your income, you can spend most of your time marketing, promoting your business, doing whatever you
right.
do, because if something happens, the protection is there. But
You have the
most people,
security.
you have a security blanket. Most people, what they're doing about, they're making the money, but they're spending it, but they're not spending it properly. They're
Yes.
using efficient dollars inefficiently. So let's
Right.
redirect those efficient dollars. If stop making it inefficient and make it efficiently into something that's going to benefit you. Because remember earlier I said the only person who can take care of your future self is your
Is your
current self.
present self. Yes.
28-year-old entrepreneur,
Yes.
you are the ones going to take care of that 62-year-old entrepreneur.
Hmm. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay, I have a final question for you
Sure.
before we wrap up. Y'all, I want to say thank you for listening because I appreciate that talking about money. We don't like to admit it, but it's
Yes.
pretty anxiety provoking for a lot of us. We like to say, "Oh yeah, I love money. Oh yes, I want to win $1 million." But if the reality were to come to us, a lot of us, as you see with people who win the lottery, lots of people who win the lottery go bankrupt and broke within a couple of years because of all of that internal stuff and the stories we tell ourselves about money, our feelings, the feelings that come up for us about money when we haven't really dealt with it or faced our fears and anxieties about it. Okay, your final offering for me tonight. I want to know what you might say to somebody who grew up poor, who grew up without much access to money.
I like
But
that.
they have a desperate wanting to create money.
Okay. I'm going to give you three things,
Hmm.
about 3 to 5 minutes to explain it. And then we'll be in.
Yes.
It's already 8 o'clock, though, but this is a paramount. Our
Hmm.
chief marketing officer, Mr. Douglas Anthony Eze. I like his story. He's from Nigeria.
Hmm.
He came, I think he was first in Germany, then he was in Canada, and he ended up here. When they he was found doing what we're doing now, and he's part of our crew, he's American Classic, he's the co-owner. He was a waiter at IHOP
Mm.
about 25 years ago. And someone slipped him a card, just like I can slip somebody one of my cards and say, this is the industry that I know where I don't care how broke and poor you are, you can make six figures if you want to, but you
Mm.
need to create. You see, it doesn't matter if you came from nothing. Do like our brothers and sisters, the East Indians and the Asians and the Hispanics and the Caucasians doing. They're creating generational wealth. It doesn't
Yes.
matter if you're poor. Make your next generation rich. For
Right.
example, in the book of Proverbs in the Bible says, a wise man leaves a legacy for his children's children, not his children, his
That's
children's
right.
children. So you guys may hate Trump and all those people like that, but those people, their families are set forever. And the
Hmm.
Rockefellers, they created complicated trust using life insurance to fund it that they could never. Let me tell you something, Doc. Mr. Douglas Anthony Eze. If you go Instagram, it's YouTube, there was a documentary done on him, millionaires in America, African millionaires in America.
Hmm.
Guy was working, was a waiter at IHOP. I know you get $2 an hour, $1.95 an
Right.
hour. Right now, he co-owns, he's the chief marketing officer of one of the largest African American and female owned IMOs, American Classic Agency, in the continental
Hmm.
United States.
Hmm.
When he wrote a book, and I posted the book on my Facebook page, and I'll tell you real quickly, Doc, and you people need to go get this book,
Yeah, mention it
right?
because I did mean to ask you a question about what's a good book you might recommend
I'm
for
going to give you two books that
yeah,
people should get. The first one it's called Creating Generational Wealth, right?
creating generational wealth. Okay.
What the super wealthy know that you need to know by Douglas A.C. Eze,
Okay.
Eze. That's his last name is spelled Eze. Creating generational wealth. What the super wealthy know that you need to know. What he did was he researched wealthy families and what they did, and he
Yes.
did that. And that's what
Gotcha.
we try to teach people. And another book you can get, it's called Closing the Racial Wealth Gap.
Mm,
Seven by Eugene Mitchell. It says seven untold rules for Black prosperity and legacy. Eugene Mitchell. And I'll tell you something. The reason why I'm promoting both of those books is those are my colleagues.
mm-hmm.
One is the chief marketing officer, one is the marketing strategist with American Plastic Agency. But
Yeah.
Eugene said this in New York City when he was in New York Life. You know what the Jews were doing? They would get large policies of their parents, the siblings,
Mm-hmm.
and then they pay the premiums. And when the parents die, they split the funds and they can get to start businesses. You
Right.
see, a lot of Black people want to do that stuff
Yeah.
because we think I ain't leaving no money for nobody. But you know what, though? The problem is it's your mindset. You need a paradigm shift. You need to change your mindset. You need to start thinking about prosperity. And some of you who are Christians tick me off. You think that Christians need to be broke. Back in the Old Testament, there were no Christians. There was just Jews, right?
Right. Right.
Even before there was a Jewish nation. Think about it. Abraham was wealthy. Lot was
Right.
wealthy. Solomon
Noah.
was wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob was wealthy. So why should you be broke? And
Yeah.
don't you think and look at all those mega preachers. They're wealthy, and some
Right.
of you got nothing. My point I'm trying to make here is that you can use or create generational wealth and use your health as equity to create that. And what people, I don't care if you're young or old, Black or white, male or female, you need to do this. And the way you start it right now is making sure that if something happens to you, and Doc, you talked about it in your therapy, when
Yeah.
your ex-husband passed, he made
Yes.
provisions,
Yes.
even your fiance, even though he didn't
Yes.
do provisions like your ex-husband, but he had provision, he did stuff. But
Yeah.
the point I'm trying to tell, everybody cannot save hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. But guess
Right.
what? That man had $1 million policy.
Mm-hmm.
He paid from June, July, August, September.
Yes.
It's 5 months. I don't know how much he was paying. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
he was paying $300 or $500. You paid about, I don't know, $3,000, or maybe it was probably less, probably $200. You paid $1,000 and your family got $1 million. And what
Yeah.
that family needs to do is to do the same thing for her on herself, for her children.
Right.
And
You move it
now
forward. Move it forward.
you paid forward. So
Yeah.
stop thinking that way and don't wait till you're old, folks, because some of you
Right.
get too old, you're broken down and you're sick and you're like an old horse. I put a video today. I couldn't remember that I went to my bag to get my doggone Claritin. When you get old, you get old. Do
Yeah.
it now. And those of you who are younger, you have kids after they're 2 weeks old and they have a Social Security number, you start creating wealth, generational wealth. And it doesn't matter how rich you are. It don't matter if you're rich or poor, if you're Black or white. You
Yes.
can do it. Let's do it like our brothers and sisters.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay, I want you to repeat the names of the books.
Sure.
One is Creating Generational Wealth, What the
Right.
Super Wealthy Know
Right.
That You Need to Know.
Right. It's called What the Super Wealthy Know That You Need to Know, Creating Generational Wealth by Douglas A.C. Aze. Douglas Anthony C. Aze. Aze is spelled Eze. And
Okay.
then the second book is by Mr. Eugene Mitchell, Closing the Racial Wealth Gap. Because most of all the people who follow us and do our stuff is African Americans.
Right.
By Eugene Mitchell. It says 7 untold rules for Black prosperity and legacy. And you have to change your mind, folks. Let me tell you something.
Yes.
If you're not going to change your mind, you're always going to stay where you are.
Same position. Same position.
Doing the same thing over and over and playing the lottery is not it, because the reason why some of you will never hit the lottery because you can't manage. You get $500 a week, you get paid. You can't manage. You're going to manage millions.
Right.
How are you going to do that? You can't manage an apartment. How are you going to get a house?
So it's about education,
It's
financial literacy, learning, becoming educated.
Yes, ma'am.
Becoming educated, accessing the right resources. And I think also working on our emotions, those emotional, it's the mindset too. Yeah, changing the mindset. Even if you're feeling anxious about money, the mindset has to be, yes, but I'm an adult. Yes, but I know what I need to do. So I have to do it afraid.
Listen to what you just said, Doc. Check this out.
Yes.
Let's say, I'm going to use you for a moment. Let's say you had a rough day or a rough week and you don't have the money.
Mm-hmm.
And because you say, well, a mani and a pedi, you get my hair done will make me feel good. And it should, because
Yes.
your hair looking good, your nails looking good, your toes looking sweet. And you guys know me about the pied already, right? The people say, moi, mes pieds. But the thing about it is this. You're going to go charge it? No. You know what? Go to Dollar Tree and buy scrub your foot in the basin or in
Yes.
the tub. And
Get a
then,
real greater.
right. And then down the road, you can reward yourself when you get a
Right.
bonus at work or something. I know you work hard for your money, but remember, only the current you can take care of your future. Some of you have bad money problems only because you don't have a salary. Some people want to make more money. It's not a salary issue. You have a money problem because you don't know how to handle money. You're not disciplined. And sometimes it's okay to go and out to eat. And sometimes it's okay to go out and get a mani and pedi. But if it's not, if you want that, budget for it. Put it in your budget. So you've allocated a line item for mani pedi.
Yes.
And it's not affecting that you're paying yourself first as well. Create that generational wealth. Use infinite banking. Let me tell you something. The rappers are doing it. Flocka's doing it. When my son told me he wants to be a rapper, I'm like, well, if you're gonna be like Jay-Z and Lil Wayne, well, you gotta go to school. I want to be a rapper. Well, if you want to be a rapper, when you get your money, start dumping it, and you can legally shelter that money legally. It's not money laundering. It's not trying to hide money in Swiss banks. So the government has. And Congress has passed laws to tell you can do it. And you know what the wealthy white folks are doing? They're using it. And you ain't doing it because you don't know about it, but you're too ashamed to ask me and say, I give it for free. I don't charge anything. People ask me, people say, but you do this for of course I do it. You guys can't afford to pay me. People ask me all the time, how much is the consultation? I tell them you can't afford me. It's free.
Right.
Because the knowledge I giving you, and then when you start building your wealth, then we'll talk about living trust. We'll talk about, different things you can do. But right now, you have to pay yourself first. I don't care what you do. Every week, I don't care what you save something.
Okay.
And make sure it's going into an insurance policy just in case, because tomorrow is promised.
Beautiful. Havis. Havis says he doesn't care how much we save. Every time you get paid, save something. Okay? And if you're starting off small, I just heard you mention the using of a little insurance policy. You got kids, you got grandkids who you can make such a difference in their lives. It's not if we, if you make a choice. If you make a choice. Okay? So, Havis.
And we're here, Doc. Bardouille Financial Services. Havis Bardouille is here. H is here. Terrence is there. Luca Boy there. Jalan Point is there. I can help you if you're in the continental United States. Don't be ashamed. It'll be such fun going over what you need to do. And then one of the biggest steps people need to do is take that first step. When you learn to swim the water cold, some people just jump in, but put the foot in.
Yeah.
Start small. You can't do what you want to do. You can't put that client I was telling you about. This lady drops like $2,000 every month.
Right.
A concept.
Right.
You may not be able to afford that, but you could do. Everybody could do $100.
Yeah.
Everybody who has a job, you making $50 to $20 a month. I mean, an hour.
Yes.
I mean, some of us that would work for us, but the point I'm trying to make here is you can save $100 a month and put it into cash value life insurance that you could access down the road, tax if you structure it properly. That's what the wealthy does. Rockefeller did it. Walt Disney did it. Ray Kroc from McDonald's did it. Doris Christopher, the Pampered Chef, did it. J.C. Penney did it. That's how he pays his employees during the Great Depression of the 20s, using that concept. Why won't you do it? All those people I mentioned are white.
I think it's the education or the lack thereof, and I'm so grateful to you for educating us and sharing the information with us. Y'all, Havis has given you permission to DM him, send a friend request. All it takes is a conversation, really. Yeah? You can just say, I just want to hear a little more. I
Oh,
don't
go
know
to Dr.
any.
Triffy. Say, hey, Dr. Triffy, you know what? Hey, you were talking to that guy. You have
Right.
his Dr. Triffy. Anybody ask you for my number anytime
Yes.
and they did advice? Yes. If they're asking
Yes.
for money, say, I don't have it.
I,
I don't have his number. But if they want me to help them,
yeah.
say, you can pass it through. And people have given me referrals like that as well. What
Yes.
I'm saying to you is, Doc, and I mean that. And I know now, with your business of what you're doing, I will, when you're ready to consult again, I'll tell people, I know a great, and she can do, how you all call it, virtual consulting as well. You can sit on your own couch with your phone like that, and she can talk to you.
Right. Right. Okay. So, y'all, you heard it. Okay. Let me acknowledge a few of you who have shared your thoughts with us. I see Cecilia worries about some people who don't want the information, but she says that laziness is kind of an inertia. I think at the bottom of that is anxiety and, and doubt. And it's like you just laziness can cause poverty too, as opposed to cleaning an article, some might, or reading an article, some might throw it away and buy another. So, as opposed to cleaning something, we might just throw it away and you lose the money. Yeah, that includes sneakers, you know, as an example.
Right.
Facebook user gave us the name of the book, Closing the Racial Wealth Gap. Happy to listen, Annie's happy to listen. Please mention the two recommended books again.
Sure. The first one is by Mr. Douglas Anthony Aze. It's called Creating Generational Wealth, What the Super Wealthy Know That You Need to Know.
Mm-hmm.
And the second book is by Mr. Eugene Mitchell. And it's called, let me tell you exactly what it's called. It's called um,
Closing.
Closing the Racial Wealth Gap,
Yeah.
7 Untold Rules for Black Prosperity and Legacy by Mr. Eugene Mitchell. You can get those books on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they may have the electronic one,
Mm-hmm.
but you can get it on there, folks. I've given many of those books out. I'm not giving them out anymore because the reason why I'm not doing that, because people research iPhones and sneakers and suits. You can
Right.
you can go there and do it,
I
you know.
agree. I
And,
agree.
and that's how I look at it. And Doc,
And
I have to get
we
some
make
books.
time for what is important. We make time for what is important. And so
Yes.
we have to, take responsibility. We have to take responsibility. Go ahead, Havis.
No, I was saying that also with you. I haven't forgotten. I have to get some books. So you got to get one for Sandy and a couple of other people.
Oh,
Definitely have to get the books. What I want to do is, I want you to write in there, and I think later this month or next month I have to come for my daughter,
mhm.
and we can do it then. But the important thing is simply this: I want people to understand that you have options.
Yes.
You can do it again. Eugene Mitchell is the name. Yes, Eugene Mitchell. Mitchell, not Michael, but it's Mitchell. 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 Eugene
Yeah.
Mitchell. Yes, man.
All
And
right. Well,
that's it.
that's it. Our Facebook user says, thanks for providing such a timely and valuable uh, sharing. And Havis, I want to tell you, thank you so much for joining
Anytime.
us tonight. Havis says, anytime, y'all.
Doc,
Okay.
you want me? Just call me. I will move heaven and earth to be on your show because I highly value you, and I've told you that, and I want everyone to know she is someone. And those of you who are my Facebook friends who are watching, follow her as well send her a friend request. And she has I was telling Sandy, she has and Doc, I'm plugging you on your own show. You see how I am? I'm so good. A tribe of women. I came. I was trying to get in there, and it said you have to put information. I said, Doc knows me. I'm not a woman. I can't get in.
Yeah.
As women for women, she has a podcast for women only. And sometimes women feel more comfortable dealing with women. So do that,
Yes.
Doc. You know, join her and follow her, Dr. Triffy, on her business page, and Margaret Wallace on her personal page. She have great lives, man. Especially if you're from Dominica, she'll make you pee pee on yourself sometime with her
Oh,
jokes.
Havis, thank you so much. I will see you soon. The rest of y'all, thank you so much for joining tonight. As Havis was saying, you can get my book, Do It Now, on Amazon. This is what the book looks like. There's also a workbook that goes along with the book, teaches strategies to help you beat bad habits like procrastination, which is anxiety based for a lot of us, poor thought patterns, and problems like perfectionism that keep us from attaining the success we deserve. Okay? On next Thursday, on the 20th, I am joining my cousin on his podcast, Milk and Friends. So his daughter passed away, I want to say 7 years ago. And for the past 3 years, we have talked about surviving grief on his podcast on 420. And so I'm joining him next week. I hope you all tune in. Yes, I hope you all tune in. And I want to say thank you. I agree, Delphina. This was very insightful. Havis, merci.
Darian,
Thank you so much. See you all next week.
good night, everybody. God bless you.
Bye.
Bye bye.